Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name's Luke Mason, and I am honored to have the champion at 165 professional gut check championship kickboxing champion, brand new, just won the belt a couple days ago. Zak Kelly. Zak Kelly, welcome to the show.
How's it going, man?
Great having you on the show, champ. Got a lot to talk about. Let's first jump into the fight itself, and then we're going to kind of go backwards because you had taken a retirement from fighting. You came back out in a big style. So, how did this fight come together? And have you fought for gut check before? And was the championship kickboxing or Muay Thai? Sometimes it's called full rules Muay Thai. What type of rule set was this title fight?
It was kickboxing, so it was glory rules.
Hmm.
So yeah, kickbox, 5 second clinch, no elbows. But yeah, just kickboxing rules. That's pretty much what I've always trained.
Gotcha. Yeah, kickboxing rules are great. When you say glory, isn't that also a single arm plum, or you're allowed two arm, a double plum as long as it's for 5 seconds, or is it a single?
No, you can have the
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 double. Okay.
double plum. The single is just
Oh, that's K1. That's right. That's what
yep.
Overeem kind of made, right? Because he was so juiced up, he was grabbing guys and just okay. So that's K1. So glory is the double for 5 seconds. Awesome. Okay. Well, let's jump in to the fight. I know it was five 3-minute rounds and you went to the decision. So that's 15 minutes of fighting. It's a lot of fighting and it's very high paced for people that are used to watching MMA, where there can be some holding times, sometimes on the ground, sometimes up against the cage. That doesn't really happen in kickboxing. So, kind of walk us through, if you can, what you remember, maybe the highlights of each round, because I know as a fighter, you don't always necessarily remember everything. But what were kind of the highlights of round one, and then we'll kind of go through the fight that way to give a real breakdown.
Uh, really, I knew that Brandon was probably going to try to push the pace a little bit because I haven't competed in 5 years,
Mhm.
and he's a real busy fighter. Not just like he's usually pretty active outside of like active in competition, but in his fights he's very busy. He throws a lot. He has a lot of output. So I kind of think that me earlier in my career was a bit of a slow starter. So I thought that maybe a slow starter plus being away from the sport for a competition for a couple of years that he'd really like come out and try to put the pressure. So my game plan was like, hey, I'm gonna put the pressure. Let's just get right in his face right out the gate. And Brandon's a real good fighter, but I saw a couple little flaws in his game, and one of those is just when people apply a lot of pressure to him, he kind of tends to fight off of the ropes. And sometimes in the judges' eyes, I know even if the fights are close, if your back's up against the ropes,
Yeah.
sometimes it looks like losing. So I just felt okay, and sometimes he gets a little content with staying there, um, and sometimes he makes it work for him. But I just knew that the way that we were training in preparation, that if I put a lot of pressure and kept him up against the ropes and kept him there, I'd be victorious. And it was kind of more of the same throughout the fight
Okay.
after each round, just more pressure, a little more output. Um, he has some things that he's very good at. He has a really good check hook. I remember the old USKA days up in
Mhm.
the Hamburg Field House.
Sure.
Him and we never fought each other, but we were on the same cards a lot. And I always tuned in when he would fight, even though we were different weight classes. I was a fan of his and his team, Tiger Schulman. They always
Mm.
had really good fights. But I remember just seeing Brandon knock guys out with left hooks, or at least drop them with left hooks. And we're talking like all the way back in like 2011, 2010,
Mhm.
somewhere in there. So I knew going in he had a real heavy left hook, and he just won by knockout a couple months ago with a left hook. So that was like one weapon. I was
Mm.
trying to keep that right hand nice and high, and but really just put a lot of pressure on him.
Sure. Well, thank you for the breakdown of the fight and a little bit of insight into the game planning. And I'm remembering some of those great Irv Aldhouse USKA days at the Hamburg Fieldhouse. And of course, it's in incredible hands now, USKA under Gary Grant. He's doing big things with it. It's a great promotion. Really cool in the fight world. I don't think people always realize how small the fight world is, whether it's amateur, pro, jiu-jitsu competition, whatever it is. You end up either being, constantly put up against, in the same circle. Sometimes in jiu-jitsu, people will get matched up over and over again, even in fighting. But even if, like you pointed out, even if it's not your weight class, you end up kind of following other people. So I saw that Christian Carr was in your corner. What is it like? Like, who was in your corner, and what was it like to have them? Because I know you're also a coach, and so we had talked years ago, that there's the sport of coaching and the sport of fighting, and they're somewhat different. So what was it like sliding back into being the athlete, not the coach? What was it like taking coaching and direction from people that you're constantly training with, and a member of the Gracie team?
Well, my cornermen are my brother, Zak Kelly,
Sure.
a really successful kickboxer, my main training partner, my right hand man, and then yeah, like you said, Christian Carr. Christian Carr is the kickboxing instructor at Gracie 717. I passed that torch to him a few years ago, and yeah, he's killing it. Both those guys. I mean, we train along each side each other throughout the week, every week. So I trust those guys with everything. I would never ask them to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And I know that they feel the same way. And we have a really strong connection. I taught my brother how to throw his first punch. I mean, obviously I've known him my whole life. And then Christian, I probably didn't teach him how to throw his first punch because I'm sure he's been punching his brother Josh Carr for a long time. But I think I taught him how to throw his first punch correctly. But yeah, they're great guys, and I love the energy when they're in my corner.
Yes, that's great. I was just gonna say Josh Carr has a very punchable face, but that is a joke. He's a very handsome guy.
Indeed.
Was a great kickboxer for USK in his own right. I think now, if I remember from Facebook, he's retired doing. I think last time I saw him, he's a real estate agent. So best wishes to Josh Carr and
Yeah.
everything he's doing. But I'm sure the brotherly fights go a long way. So really cool that it's a brother situation for you and Jake, and also I know Christian and Josh did a lot of the brother training together. So just a really cool thing. What is your role at Gracie 717, if you have any coaching or teaching role? Because you mentioned that Christian Carr took over what used to be your kickboxing classes there.
Really, I'm just training, and I help out whenever guys need it. I mean, I help corner all the fighters,
Mm.
um, unless I'm fighting, right? So I corner all the other guys alongside Christian, and if Christian's out of town or if he needs me to run class, then I always slide in and you know dust off the old coaching role and run a class. I love teaching. It's something I'm really passionate about. I just have a insanely chaotic work schedule, so my training time, I'm not always able to make it to the group classes. A lot of my training has been like one-on-one privates with either Christian or my brother, just because of my crazy work schedule. But when I am in class, I always am trying to help people out. Even if I'm not coaching, I just try to kick a little knowledge. I feel like I know too much not to teach. I have a lot of fights and just a lot of years in the game, and I've made a lot of mistakes. So something I always tell guys is I made the mistakes so that you don't have to. And I think
Sure.
that's why guys like my brother and Christian are so successful, because I took a bunch of losses and did things incorrectly. So, I mean, those guys are killing it, man. My brother is twice the kickboxer I ever was, and I couldn't be happier to see that.
Well, I'm very excited to hear that. I'll have to have him on the show to talk about an upcoming fight next time he has a big fight coming up, because that is really exciting. It's also sort of that definition of that really sort of helpful phrase, a smart man learns from his own mistakes, a wise man learns from someone else's mistakes. And like what you're saying, part of being a good coach, not just in a sport, but also in life in general, is to give advice and give wisdom so that somebody doesn't have to go through the mistakes or the hardships or whatever. And I think sometimes it's sometimes easy to overlook that. So really great, just life motto in general. Let's go backwards a little bit. You, like you mentioned, you took a ton of amateur MMA fights, picked up a decent number of losses, and then when you turned pro, you got started like a house on fire. 4-0 start. Lost one fight, 4-1, was very high ranked when you were fighting MMA, and then you retired in 2018 from all fighting. Obviously, that was 5 years ago. Things change. What made the time right now to come out of retirement to take kickboxing? And are you looking for more kickboxing fights, or even to dip back into MMA?
Well, what kind of got me back into it is a number of different things. One of them being I had a family member who got so kind of hard to talk about, but my mom, my real mom, who I haven't seen in a very long time, not extremely close with her, and she was in the hospital, not doing too well on life support because of poor life choices, and it kind of just motivated me to, okay, let me crawl out from under this rock where I've just been living a normal life, doing a 9 to 5 and coming home and just relaxing, and kind of made me want to just get back in better shape, take care of myself. And I started working out and started feeling better and more healthy. And then I saw Christian Carr was making his pro debut. So I slid through the gym, and who I haven't gotten to really help him much at the end of his career, his last 1 or 2 amateur fights. And then obviously his pro debut. So I just slid through, held some pads for him. And when I was in there, it wasn't really a day that there was normally class. It was just kind of like an open gym. So I got to see some of the guys and saw the owner of the gym, Damien, and a couple of my old training buddies like Josh Carr. And man, it just kind of really made me miss that camaraderie. So I wanted to get back in the gym and really just help guys out. And that's what it started as. And then one of my first days back, actually taking the class, after class, Christian asked if I wanted to spar, and I haven't sparred since my last fight. And I couldn't say no. So I didn't want to look like just an ego thing. So I sparred, and Christian kicked me around the gym, and I was driving home like, man, I feel like I kind of taught that guy how to fight. And he just reminded me that he might be a better fighter now. So it kind of motivated me to train a little bit harder so that hopefully that doesn't happen again, or at least not as bad. And then the more I trained, I was like, wow, my body feels really good. Like all those old nagging injuries that I had all healed up, and I was just like, man, I feel good. So then I started reaching out to some of my old training partners and coaches up at MVJ Athletics in Delaware. Greg Pritchett was my coach for a little over 3 years, approximately 10 years ago. And so I went up there for sparring a couple times, and he asked if I wanted to fight again. And at first I was a little hesitant, and then a few weeks later I went back, and obviously I continued to get a little bit better shape, a little bit crispier and sparring. And when you're sparring, your testosterone and your confidence is pretty high, especially if you're doing well. And then he would got a little smarter of when he would ask me. He started asking me after sparring, after I felt pretty good and pumped up, what do you think about fighting again? And I said, you know what, yeah, I think I am. And then he said, Brandon Catino's still around, would you think about fighting him? And I had forgotten about Brandon because I've been so out of the loop for so many years. And I was like, man, he was a really tough fighter. He beat some guys in the amateurs who beat me. I beat some guys who beat him, and we also beat some of the same guys. So our paths never crossed. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I would do that. And then the fight happened. And when I got the contract, I remember I was sitting here at my kitchen table. I signed the contract, and after I mailed it in, I was like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this again. But and we did. But about fighting again, right now the only thing I'm really focused on is kickboxing. I like I said, I work a lot, so I don't really have the time. Kickboxing, I have so much experience that if I just have like one training partner, I could put a lot of good work in. Whether it's my brother or Christian, and only make to the group classes maybe once a week, but and then sparring on the weekend. But jiu-jitsu and wrestling, I mean, you need a lot of different looks, a lot more work. And I'm also just that passionate about MMA. I enjoy watching it. I love watching the guys. I grew up going to my brother's wrestling tournaments. He wrestled his whole life. And even Christian Carr, when my brother graduated, I was going to all his wrestling tournaments as well. Like, I enjoy watching it. I always root for our guys at Gracie when they're competing in jiu-jitsu. It's just not my thing. Everybody has their own thing. Kickboxing saved my life when I was 16, 17-year-old kid, mad at the world. And something I've always been really passionate about. So I want to continue to keep training kickboxing and help out the next generation of fighters. And as far as what the future holds fighting wise, right now I'm going to enjoy this win. This was a huge win for me. And then we'll see what happens. For me, it's not necessary. I mean, I have 43 fights between amateur and pro. So, and all of those are regional promotions. How many more times do I need to do that? this was a really good one. But for me, it's not about who I fight; it's about where I fight. You know, I would love to fight on a big show. If that opportunity presented itself, that I want something that's going to excite me. You know, doing another regional fight is, I know, going to be fun, and I'm sure I have a lot of friends and family and hopefully a couple fans out there that would want to watch it. But for me, it's about like, I don't have a ton of things on my bucket list, and one of them is just fighting on a big promotion, just to at least say that I made it. You know, that would mean a lot to me.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, champ. I appreciate you talking about kind of one of the goals you'd still like to pursue, but you're absolutely right. You're the 165-pound professional kickboxing champion right now for Gut Check Championships, which is a great thing. Oh, there it is.
This thing's nice, man. I like it. They did a good job with this one. I really like it.
That is very nice. I'm going to try to freeze frame you holding the belt up for the icon for this video when I upload it so that they can see the belt, because that's pretty sweet. Yeah, and so obviously really appreciate you sharing about all the behind the scenes stuff. It makes perfect sense. You know, you have to want to put the time in and have the opportunity, and you're so experienced as a kickboxer. It'd be great if you could make it to one of the big shows that you want. Love to have you back on when that happens. Really appreciate you coming back on the show. It was fantastic seeing a couple months ago. Gut Check put the picture that you're talking about of you signing it and coming out of retirement. It was really great to see that. Now I've just been very honored to have you on the show. So thanks so much for coming on the show. You've been listening to or watching MMA Fancast with Luke Basin. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you will. And big thanks to you, champ, for coming on. Zak Kelly, the 165-pound Gut Check Championship champion. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, man. It's always a pleasure.
Appreciate you. You got it, bud. All right. Bye-bye.